Yes, sir.
You.
Right there.
What's happening? There
Hey,
we
first and
go.
foremost, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties there. For some reason, it wasn't working on my phone, so I had to go steal the iPad from the kids.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey,
When
I
in
do the
doubt.
same to my son too.
When in
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, I know. What's going on?
Not too much, man. Just chilling. It's finally a nice day here. It was like 104 degrees for like a
Wow.
week.
Fucking
So
A.
finally back to normal. So yes,
Yeah, man.
indeed.
So I'm a huge fan. I've been like I was telling Maddie, I followed you guys since like day one. We're both from New England, but in the
Yeah.
Boston area. But
Nice.
man, this is crazy. Like to have you on here, and it's like a little fanboy right now. But
Nice.
I love it. So first and foremost, how's everything going with you and the family? That's the main thing.
Things are great, man. Been in full scale soccer dad mode all weekend. Had a
All right.
total of 4 games. My daughter's playing like club level, like kind of Premier League stuff, so she's all over the
Wow.
place. And
Sure.
then my son Judah just started his season today. So yep, many hours at the soccer park this weekend. But yeah, so everyone's good. Things are good. Psyched to be playing some shows soon again as well. Get out of dad mode for a minute and get back on into rock and roll mode for like a whiplash weekend,
That's good though. That's the way it should be done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, indeed. So
Yeah.
yeah. So but all is well, man. So I appreciate it.
You moved you originally from Boston area, right? Milford?
Yeah, I was born in Framingham and then
Okay.
lived in Milford
Yeah.
for a while, and then went to Boston University. So lived like in the Kenmore, Commonwealth Ave area for a long time, and then moved here about 10 or so years ago. I met my wife on tour, and yeah, we ended up relocating here when we had kids. It just ended up working out that way. We didn't really even plan it; it just kind of happened.
Right.
When you're looking at houses compared to St. Louis and Boston, it's a it's a big difference in the budget. So we're like, oh shit. So
it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
yeah, but I miss the ocean. I miss the East Coast, but yeah, we got a good thing here though. So
Do you get back out here much? Out to the
we were for a while. Like we haven't been recently, so I'm psyched to come back out for New England Metal Fest in a couple of weeks. So that'll be sick. See some of the family as well while I'm out there. So yeah, but it's been a minute. So yeah, and it's gonna be a whirlwind. I'm like in and out for the weekend. Unfortunately, kids just started school and all that, so I can't disappear for too long. But I'm psyched that they brought that back this year because it's always been the best festival in the U.S. in my estimate. But I'm a little biased. We played it like 4,000 times. So
yeah, it helps when you have like played it so much. You're familiar with the area, especially Worcester is like known for that area.
Yeah, the Palladium's like our second home. From when we first started, we used to open a ton of shows, or even Overcast. My old band, one of my first shows ever was there when it was still called EM Lowe's. Before it was the Palladium. We opened for the Bosstones when I was like 15 or something. So I've been playing that stage, since 1991 or so. 90, it's crazy. So
was your first band more punk to open for the Bosstones?
Yeah. Well, no, we were like we were more like Cro-Mags hardcore. Like we were pretty thrashy, but like more hardcore. Okay. And we got a little more death metal Slayerish as time went on. But we were definitely the heaviest band on that bill that day. And it was like our second or third show. And, that was 1990 or 91. And so that was like big pants skateboard era. I was wearing these like giant blind jeans and my belt broke. So I ended up having to finish the show like in like a pair of like Mickey Mouse boxers.
Nice.
Shit. So
that's a good story. I like that.
2,000 people, no pressure, like just like fuck.
Yeah.
So the Bosstones were the headliners?
Yeah. It was crazy bills, like the Bosstones, the span, the Freeze, this old Worcester band Foe. Like it was crazy. Wow. So
and you were young, right?
I was like 15 years old or something like that. So yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So piggybacking off that, what got you into music? What was like your biggest influence that got you into the whole music scene?
Yeah, I kind of got into the heavier side of rock and roll like kind of early. Cool Neighbors got me into like Kiss and stuff when I was like tiny. I remember wearing like a Dynasty shirt when I was like 4 or 5.
Nice.
And and then my brother was really into like kind of glam metal, like or traditional metal, like stuff like Aerosmith and all that stuff. And I started going to shows pretty early. As far I saw Guns N' Roses on the Appetite for Destruction tour opening for Aerosmith. I got to see a bunch of arena rock shows like Maiden and Justice for All tour with Metallica and all that.
Right.
So that got, I started getting into like metal, but then I started getting into the heavier stuff, like the thrash metal stuff, probably pretty early, but again, from like cool older brothers of my friends and all that stuff. And through skateboarding, I started getting into more punk rock and hardcore and stuff. So by 13 or 14, I was playing in a band that we sounded like a weird mix of like Skid Row and like the Sex Pistols, like some of the guys, some of the dudes were way into like, some of the dudes were way into like, Wasp and Skid Row. And I was more into like Sex Pistols and Black Flag and stuff. So we kind of bridged some of the gaps.
Right.
And then Overcast started when I was like 15, when I met Mike D, who's now in Killswitch Engage, through skating. We just started a band and started playing shows right out of the gate. So so I've just been playing hardcore shows since 1990, just like nonstop. It's crazy.
So it's been a lifetime thing. Yeah.
So when your older brothers got you into the music and you started developing your own taste after learning,
I definitely got heavier than they did. Like my brother still hits at least probably 4 or 5 glam metal shows a year, if not more. Like he's the dude who's still going to see like, I don't know, the Bullet Boys and shit,
Nelson.
Totally. Like he's all
Connor
about
and Matthew. Yeah. Well, the Bullet Boys are still around. Who knew?
all those bands are still around, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 versions of them. Like it's like really the world needs 3 LA Guns.
Exactly. Right.
Queen Strikes.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But, Jeff Tate is on a league of his own. So
Gene Simmons always claims he wants to franchise Kiss anyway.
Well, there's just gonna be like, he'll probably do it like in different parts of the world too. There'll be like the European Kiss, there'll be the South American Kiss, and they'll just keep touring, and he'll just like sit there just collecting.
Exactly.
That's great.
Passive income for Gene.
Or he'll just start doing the CGI shit, or like some like just astral projection. AI, like hologram shit. Just like he's in his living room, just like whatever, man. Just spitting blood.
Isn't that hologram stuff amazing? Like you could just pick an era of a band you wanted to see and just literally generate the hologram of that era. I mean,
totally. Like finally, I can see Bon Scott, like front AC/DC or something.
Right.
That's
crazy.
It's crazy as it is, but it's still. I mean, it's still not authentic, but it still gives you like.
No, it's still crazy. It's nuts that that's even possible.
No, I know. So. You got to embrace the craziness of it. Yeah.
But going. So I'm just saying. I know. When Shadows Falls first started out, Phil Labonte was the original singer.
Yes, there was even a guy before that for like
I didn't know
a demo. Yeah, for like just a short demo. This guy Damien sang on the first demo, but I don't know if they've even played shows with him. They might have played a couple, and then Phil ended up in the band when his other band Perpetual Doom stopped. And then once they Overcast took them on some of their first tours out of state, so my band took them on tour. We knew them all well. I knew all those guys from different bands as well before. And then once Phil left the band and they were going in a more like kind of, a little more singing like vibe. And he wanted to kind of keep more death metal, which is crazy because then he ended up going and singing in All That Remains, like in way more like melodic stuff. So, but so it just kind of worked out in a weird way. And I ended up jamming with those dudes right after Overcast broke up. And things just worked out. And I was stoked on the kind of the direction things were going in. So just started jamming, and then played my first show like probably a few months after even practicing with them the first time. So it's crazy. That was like 98. I started jamming with them. I think the first show was like January 99.
Okay. Well, thanks. I was only wondering how that transitioned because I know Phil was in there for a short time and he left, and you guys.
Yeah, he did the album Somber Eyes to the Skies. He was on that one, so which was independently released, but it got out there. Like there's it really got out there. Matt put it on his own label. But that would kind of start the ball rolling for Shadows Fall. And then when I joined, we recorded some demos and got that to Century Media, and that led to the record deal. And then, we didn't see home for like 15 years,
The road became your home. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Calm down over there, James Hetfield.
Right.
No, but that's awesome because you guys, that's what you wanted to do, right? This is what your dream was, and it came to fruition to a certain degree.
Oh yeah, we went. Things went way beyond we ever thought. We just, we wanted to tour and do some stuff. We're a pretty heavy band. We didn't think we'd really be able to, get as far as we did, and things really opened up in the early 2000s. We could tell like heavier stuff was getting on the radio, but it was very like down-tuned, new metal kind of Korn or like, there's usually a DJ involved and stuff like that. So we were playing like, more thrash influenced, metal with a lot of guitar solos. We didn't think we were ever going to kind of get into that world. But then by like 2003, we did Ozfest, and we could tell we're like, all right, this music is connecting with like a larger crowd. We knew if we could get in front of people, we'd blow them away. We just didn't know how that would translate commercially. And man, by 2005, you got all these bands selling hundreds of thousands of records, getting Grammy nominations. It was nuts, you know. And we're doing arena tours with Slipknot, and opening for Maiden, and it's just crazy.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. For Maiden.
Wow.
It was 2005 Ozfest was Sabbath and Maiden on the main stage, and then us, Mudvayne, and Black Label Society, and then a million awesome bands on the second stage. That was a crazy tour. So yeah, it was nuts. We just wanted to like see if we could, tour and play some shows. We didn't really think there'd be make a living out of it, and then it really took off. So it was cool.
No, that's so cool. I mean, and I'm glad. And so transitioning to, what would be like if you had to pick a favorite album that you guys put out? What would be the one that you say that was the pinnacle for you guys?
It would probably be The War Within, I guess, just because it was the most successful, like, commercially, number-wise and all that. It also came out at a perfect time when the record industry, when people still bought records.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. Right? The fact that was still like a thing.
Right.
But it's also a really well-rounded record. I think it really shows a little bit of everything we always wanted to do. My personal sonic favorite might be the last one, Fire from the Sky. I think it just sounds great.
Yeah.
But for me, the songs that probably hit the hardest for me is Off the Art of Balance. So it's kind of a range. Like I would say though, if someone was like, "What is Shadows Fall all about?" I would give them The War Within and be like, "This is gonna give you the 101 on everything we do."
Sums up the sound.
So like a new fan wants to get into you guys, that's the album to listen to.
That's the one to listen to. And honestly, the opening track is like, okay, here's literally everything we've ever done as a band in one song. Right. So the light that blinds is like, really like, it's got the acoustic intro, shredding guitar, like solo intro, and then big mosh part in the middle, big chorus. So it's kind of like, all right, that's our blueprint. So
how did the recording process go for a lot of the albums? Did you record in a certain studio, or did you work with certain producers? Or
for the first 3, we worked with in Massachusetts, actually in Hadley, out in Western Mass. Our friend Zeus, who has a studio out there, and he produced those first 3. He's done a ton of stuff. Speaking of Queensryche, he just did the last Queensryche.
Oh wow!
Nice. And we worked with him in some way on every record except for Fire from the Sky, because we did that with Adam D from Killswitch Engage. Right. Mostly, we just kind of wanted to do something a little different, and we'd always want to work with Adam. He's a good friend of ours. But Zeus has been involved with everything. He didn't record Threads of Life, but he mixed it, and everything else he recorded and mixed. So he's been a huge part of our sound. We're working with him right now on new material. So John was just laying down some guitars this week. It's going to be definitely piecemeal. We're kind of like, we got about probably 6 songs that are pretty locked in structure wise, another few that are still getting refined. So we're just like tracking when we have time. Jay laid down a ton of drum tracks. Nice. We still may, have to redo some stuff or chop and plop some stuff and move some stuff around. But, and I've started getting vocal demos. So we're, working with Zeus is always killer. It's one of those things now that the rough mixes you get that are just like them after they finish sound better than records we made, 20 years ago.
I know.
So crazy.
I know. The technology,
It's nuts. So, and also the technology allows us to kind of like, they can send me the files. I work on them with the actual like real guitar tracks instead of just demo shit. So it's cool, but it's coming along. We didn't know if we were going to write. We did those reunion shows and we were like, let's see what happens. John always has riffs. He's playing in Anthrax these days, but Scott and Charlie and all them write like, 100% of that stuff. So he writes his solos, but he doesn't really write riffs. So he's like, I got all these other riffs. Like, so he's like, we're like, if Anthrax ain't gonna use them, we'll use them. So,
shit.
They gotta go somewhere, right?
Scott doesn't want those.
Yeah, exactly. So those the main thing is like we're like, it had to sound like Shadows Fall, because he's got a few other projects. And these riffs, when we heard them, we're like, this is like our vibe. And once him and Jason started jamming, it started sounding like Shadows Fall. Right. And Matt's got a bunch of riffs too, so it's starting to come together. Yeah. So
now, Jonathan, personally, my opinion, I think Jonathan is one of the best guitar players in the world, and people don't really understand that.
Yeah, he's incredible. It's funny. He was like that classic, like hotshot, like 17-year-old kid that we were all like, "Whoa, who is this kid?"
Yeah.
I still think of him that way, but like, yeah, he's already over 40 now. Like none of us are kids no more. But I'm just happy that for him, all he's wanted to do is shred guitar and tour and play and drink, and like now he just gets to do that in like one of his favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
Badass.
Yeah, so he's, he had Anthrax posters on his wall as a kid, so he's getting to live that dream, which is pretty awesome. And getting that respect because he's an incredible guitar player. So.
Yeah.
Oh, he is. That's why I can't believe. I mean, he spreads like a motherfucker, and people that really don't know you guys or don't know the metalcore genre or thrash metal, they're like, they don't know about this guy. It's like, but they should. He's so good.
Yep, indeed.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's coming back. So when you going to how you so Adam D. Funny fact, you might know. I mean, he was on Price is Right.
Yes, indeed, he was.
And
It's crazy because he watched. Yeah, Bob Barker just passed away.
He died.
Yeah.
Bob Barker just died.
99.
It's crazy. It's 99. He almost made it to the century mark.
I know.
Like, he's so
Benny
close.
White, same shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's like those people who bet $1. Like he almost made it to the 100.
Yeah,
Like, so.
I know.
But yeah, Adam D won that shit, and he was a super fan of Price is Right. Used to literally watch it all the time. He'd be in the studio, he'd be having it on mute on the background.
Yeah.
And so honestly, he's like had all those games dialed in too. Like, so he's, and when they went there, they were in line, and I guess the producers just looked at him and was like, dude, we gotta get this guy down here. Like, they didn't know that he was even in a band or anything. They're just like, who is this fucking maniac? Who is this guy?
And I remember when he won, he went nuts.
He won the double showcase, like
he won both.
And he got a car, and it ended up costing all this shit in taxes to like get, because he's like, I don't have his car, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, just so he tries to sell it, but then it's crazy. It was this whole process, like the behind the scenes stuff. You're like, it's not just like this trailer full of prizes, it's all this paperwork.
The dark side of Prague.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, but that was crazy. That footage is amazing, man. It's so good. So good. But R.I.P. Bob Barker, man.
I know.
Probably more known for knocking out Adam Sandler and Happy Gilmore
days.
Happy
Gilmore.
Yes, Price is Wrong, Paul.
And the fact that Adam wore the Bruins jersey just fucking laments it. Yeah, dude.
So great.
Yeah, so good. Now, speaking of the Bruins, you're living out in St. Louis, and we know in 19 they couldn't get the job done.
Dude,
you?
Funny story about this. I'm Bruins fan, born and raised, always will be, always have been. And I was out, I was obviously out here, and Game 7, there was a Fish show in St. Louis that night. So me and like a whole bunch, actually some of my East Coast friends were out for that show, and we're having a good time. Of course, everyone's watching the game, like on all the little TVs around the concourse. The city's going crazy as it is. Yeah. And I remember they were in the middle of this crazy jam, and you hear this crowd just start to lose their mind for no reason. And I'm like, that's when they scored the third goal, and it was just over. And the place starts going nuts. And Trey from Fish starts playing Gloria, like, because that was their fucking song during the jam. And place is going crazy. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, there's no way the Bruins are coming back. I'm glad that, in St. Louis, if they're going to win, at least this is now going to be a party in that building. Like, like as opposed to, if they would have lost, it was this bummed out Fish show. So then they opened the second set with Gloria into Loving Cup by the Rolling Stones, and people went nuts. So it ended up being this crazy party. I'm like, all right, fine, that was a bummer.
Yeah, because me being the negative person I am most of the time, when the Bruins left the first goal, they give the first goal, I was like, this game's over. Yeah. I'm like, Martin gets off the bench, they score the goal. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, this game's over. It's like, damn it.
It's funny, when I first moved here, though, man, it was when like the Sox beat them in the World Series, just right the year I moved there. Right. And I was like, and I was just like, didn't even realize. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, we've been ruining St. Louis sports for like a long time, man. Between the first Super Bowl against the greatest show on turf.
Yes,
and
right.
The 2004 Red Sox, they were the Cardinals were the best team in baseball all year, and then we just steamrolled them in 4. Yeah, well, after they came back in 7 against the Yankees, you're like, sorry, you're in the way.
Exactly.
Just a buzzsaw coming.
Yeah, I know.
So, but then the team that shouldn't have won beat them again. Like in what was that, 2000? I don't even remember what it was. Whenever the last one they won. Yeah. So
we beat St. Louis again in 13.
That's a 13. Yeah, it was 13.
And then we
That's
beat
when I first.
Dodgers
That was the first.
18.
Yeah, because they beat the first year I was here. And I was like, everyone's. it would drove me crazy though, because like I'm used to Yankees fans and Cardinals
yeah.
fans. Like they'd be like, "Oh, you guys outplayed us. You deserve to win." I'm like, "What the fuck? What? No!" I was like, "This is like
You want some banter?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
right,
come on,
I know.
man. Like now I feel terrible talking shit. Like it's so
Yeah.
Is there a different vibe on in the Midwest with that? There is, right? There's
a little bit, yeah. Although they
Yeah.
call themselves, the B-Fibs, the best fans of baseball. And it's like, nah, they're just as
no.
obnoxious. They just hide it
Red
with
Sox,
false.
Yankees, best fans.
Yeah,
of
they
baseball.
just hide it with false like humility
Yeah.
and niceness. It's all they're seething inside. So,
Right,
right. Although both the Sox and the Cardinals suck this year, so it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. And the
At least the Yankees
too, so
suck.
like,
At least the Yankees are worse.
Yeah,
Right,
so,
right.
it's funny. I was at a I was out to the Bruins game in March, and people just started chanting "Yankees suck." I'm like, "What a fucking hockey game! It's March, and people
It's
start
so
saying
good
it.
in
I'm
March. Yeah, in March.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't
like,
matter.
really, dude? Like,
It's just
doesn't
a fun
matter.
chant, though.
It really is.
It's just a
It
fun-
is.
It's a fun thing to chant. It's like
It's hard not to do.
It
Right.
really is. You can do anywhere, and you
Yeah.
can be in a restaurant, fine
Yeah.
dining.
Always works. Yeah,
Yankees suck.
totally.
What the,
Yeah. Right.
But so after we started on Adam D, talk about the Red Sox. So being from so when being in St. Louis now, I got to ask you, how good's the barbecue?
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. There's and there's the thing, if you don't see a smoker outside the place, you're not even bothered with it. But
Right.
man, the brisket here is amazing.
Wow.
Pork steaks are this whole other world I never even knew about till I came here.
Yeah.
I like going to Kansas City. They got the burnt ends over there, so
Yeah.
a lot of good food like that.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one thing they got going for them for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say Besides their best fans in baseball.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a good lobster roll in St. Louis.
No, exactly, dude. I miss the sea.
Yeah.
Exactly. I miss
Right.
the fresh seafood. So I miss the ocean in general. It's the first time I've ever been landlocked. So,
Yeah,
but
You're right.
you know,
Yeah.
I was-
When you come here for the New England Metal Festival, we're gonna be there. We're both gonna be there.
nice.
You don't have much time to do things. So you have to go back to
No,
school.
yeah, I'm pretty much heading right in. My dad lives down in Cape Cod, so I was hoping to get down there for a minute, but I think he's just gonna come up to Worcester because I think originally I was coming in for a little bit longer, and we just can't with school, the kids being back in school and soccer and stuff. I just gotta do the weekend in and out. So yeah, I'll just be flying in, flying out.
Not much time to
Probably
do.
get one rehearsal in,
Yeah, if you're lucky.
So you guys did do some reunion stuff in 2021, you said though, right?
Yeah, we played. We did a headlining show at the Worcester Palladium. It's crazy. We snuck it in right after everything had reopened again. We were getting nervous, and then literally we had that show, and everything shut down again right afterwards, COVID wise. And dude, that show was COVID soup. Like it was so many people afterwards were like, luckily the band somehow we all escaped, didn't catch it that time, but that was we had to cancel it already once, so we were just glad we got to get it in. The show went well, and then we did that next September we did the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, which was amazing, and Furnace Fest, and then this year we did the Resurrected Milwaukee Metal Fest on Memorial Day this past May. So basically just been festivals, and besides that one headlining show so far, but hopefully we would love to do some more long weekends or maybe a short tour, but I doubt we'll ever like full scale tour again.
Right.
Yeah. Just it's tough these days. It's also just in general, even if you're a full-time band, the expenses have gotten crazy.
I've heard.
But if you're just trying to do an in and out thing, it's even harder. Because the overhead's nuts. So festivals just make the most sense. You can play to the most people at one time, where we can all just travel in and out, without having to worry about tour buses and all that shit. So
right.
Well, it's funny because we talked briefly another episode we did like a while back. We talked about how like a lot of these streaming platforms just rape you guys for putting your music out there with the charges. It's ridiculous. You make no money.
No, it's crazy. When you have millions of spins and it's like worth like $1.80, like it's nuts. We get these little sound exchange direct deposits from your royalties from all the streaming stuff, and it's just always like, this is a nice little. It's like, I guess I can go get like extra large at Dunkin' Donuts this week instead of the regular large, with all this streaming money that's coming in. So but it's part of the deal these days. Guys have had full-time bands have had to get creative, where whether it's doing other streaming stuff themselves on like Twitch or like doing subscription stuff or Patreon stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy because we were, at a time when we started, it was still, you could sell records and you could go out on the road and make money and all that. It's a lot harder for bands to be full-time and survive in the way we did back then, especially in a scene that's only as big as the metal scene is. You know, it's got a ceiling to it, so it's tough. Yeah, man, it's weird. There's a lot of more ways for a band to get probably more technically popular. It's just harder to make it like as a living for it,
right?
You know, because you may have blow up on YouTube and all your Spotify numbers go through the roof, but then you're like, yeah, that doesn't equal anything.
It doesn't translate.
Whereas, you know, old school radio spins you could make a lot of money off of having a hit single on the radio, and record sales. You know, you still could get a good amount of royalties, but the percentages now on streaming stuff is crazy. It's crazy.
Minimal.
Asinine.
Did you guys get a lot of radio play? Well, was AAF playing your stuff back then?
Yeah, AAF was not super behind us, but they got there. We had a lot of commercial radio ads for let's see, What Drives the Week, and Redemption, and even a little bit of Another Hero Lost. We did really well numbers on like metal shows and like, you know, like college radio and all that. We did tons of that, but those numbers even back then, like, it was great. You could get these, take some time off from the road and live off of your, you know, publishing from radio and video games. Like we were on like was it Guitar Hero 2, things like that. And weird soundtrack stuff. A lot of times you wouldn't even be in the movie, but you'd be on the Freddy vs. Jason soundtrack. You know, it'd just be like a CD compilation of just like all these metal bands, you know. And it was revenue from that stuff that you could kind of take some time off from the road and not have to worry about like, paying all your bills and stuff. But it's probably a lot harder now. So, dude's got to diversify, you know?
Yeah, you got to get
creative.
Funny, because you mentioned a minute ago, Another Hero Lost, which is a great song. And I said to Maddie off air, I said, I knew that Brian had a voice of an angel hiding in that body, and I was certain I heard that song.
Indeed.
This is the first song I heard him actually like, it's like, let's fucking sing.
Got to get my power ballad on, you know, like, it's funny because the screaming stuff, like it came pretty natural, but that was never really what I thought I'd do as a singer, really. And then the music just kept dictating, you know, what worked. And then, but it's fun. Then I had to like remember how to sing like again after years.
Right.
Yeah. But we've always mixed it up though. We've always wanted to bring melody. I grew up on just as much traditional metal as I did like, you know, death metal and stuff. So we always wanted to have melody in our songs. Matt's a great singer as well. So harmonizing with him was always a thing. And it's funny, John, he can hit all the like crazy like Sebastian Bach screams and all that stuff. He can do some of that crazy stuff. He can do all that stuff. So it's a lot of times it's subtle, but they'll be in the backgrounds of stuff where he's hitting this crazy high harmony in the background. It's pretty funny. So so we just wanted to, we didn't want to limit ourselves. So we're always trying new stuff. So
No, in terms of songwriting,
good question.
Do you write most of the songs, or?
I write all the lyrics. John and Matt write all the music. They'll occasionally have some like maybe a melody line idea for like a chorus that we'll like kind of work on together. And we do a lot of collaborative stuff in the studio too. Like if I have an idea and they're just like, yeah, that's great, but just maybe make the notes go here or there, you know?
Right.
But as far as lyrics go, they give me free reign to do whatever.
Have you found that changed since you were young? Obviously, that must the content, the subject has probably changed over the years, right?
And also you learn the Overcast stuff. Like when we do a reunion show, man, I was a young kid and there's too many syllables and like way too many syllables. It's like I don't know what I was thinking. It's like a machine gun shit. And now I know. Like now I'm like, nah, man, I'm thinking about breaths. I'm thinking about how I'm going to be able to do that live. Like, you know, all that. So you definitely refine your craft. And subject-wise, definitely changed. You like in college, I was studying a lot of philosophy, and you're just in so much more of an intellectual kind of mindset. That I read some of those lyrics from them, and they're like, "It's like, all right, man, put the thesaurus down." You know, like,
all right, Dr. Jones, calm down.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, totally. It's like easy there. Yeah. You know? It's good. You don't have everything doesn't have to be, you know, like some deep, you know, crazy hidden meaning and all these wordplay. I've gotten a little more direct with some stuff as you get older. But also that can be harder sometimes. It's harder to write something simple, short, and effective without it being either something that's already been done a million times or something that's just cheesy. So it's definitely changed through the years, but I really enjoy that side of it. It's crazy. Sometimes though, I have to check because you 10 plus albums down the road, I'll write something like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, I better make sure I haven't used that before. Like,
you don't want to plagiarize yourself.
Yeah, do the quick Google search. Like, oh no, we're good. We're good.
Hey, we're good now. Shit.
You don't have to take yourself to court.
Or being like, how many times have I said the word rise in our career? I'm like, all right, that's way too many. I was like, we can't rise anymore. No more rising. Yeah. I talked about Jamie Josser from Hatebreed. We always talk about there's certain retired words.
Yeah.
He's like, no one can do that anymore. He's like, no more rising.
Right.
You know, no more overcome. Like, we've already overcome it.
And we will rise, kind of.
It's just, all right, we get it.
We got it. It's been done. Yeah, we've risen.
We're not going nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, where do you get your inspiration from for your lyrics? Like, what drives it?
It can be really anything, man. Sometimes I'll write a bunch of stuff like just that pops in my head, like idea wise. I'm like, oh, that would be a cool idea. Other times I hear the song and I'll start humming along something that will then lead to lyrics. So it really depends. And then I'll comb through some old writings and some old stuff. And, some songs I'll literally sit down and it'll all write out in one session.
Right.
Other times I'll piece it together from a million different ideas around the way. So it really depends. The best ones are the ones that happen in one session because you're like, all right, that's good. It's done. Yeah. And I've learned also now not to overthink some of that stuff. I would rewrite and edit and go crazy on some stuff for a while. I've learned to kind of let some of the inspiration just stay intact from the initial idea. So, but it depends, man. Some of these new songs there's a lot of, I say, retroactive sort of writing where I write a bunch of stuff and I'm like, I have no idea where the hell that came from. Yeah. And then as you start thinking about it and singing, I'm like, okay, now I kind of see what I was trying to do. And then you can kind of build around that.
Right.
So like, all right, at first I didn't know really what the hell this was about.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, oh, but it sounded metal, and then, and then the song writes itself like backwards. So.
Right.
So metal kind of thing. Yeah. It's like a lot of these bands that say they call it quits and then 5 years on the road, they release, unreleased recordings, it's like they had stuff in the library they never even used, in the vault to bring it out. And here's a new album that we had stuff we wrote 20 years ago. Prince passed away and Michael Jackson passed away. Did all that kind of stuff. That happens a lot,
Right.
Oh, yeah, totally. You gotta have the riff bank. I'll tell you though, we cash it by the end. Anything we're writing now is definitely new because which would have been nice if we would have a riff bank still. Right. But it's funny. There were definitely ideas for songs that were shelved 10 years ago that may come back around when you're finally like, all right, we found the spot for this stuff. Which is crazy to think about. But yeah, when we go to write, Matt and John will go through some old demos and be like, oh man, I totally forgot about this riff. Or now I finally have the second part to this in my head. So you never know. So never throw anything out. Save every scrap of paper, save every recording, Yeah.
No, you're right. That's true. Now, pertaining to the new music, I follow Instagram. I saw Jonathan with Zeus and they were laying on the riff. It was so killer. I'm like, so they laid down the tracks. You said you had 6 new ones working on pretty much. Now, when you get the material, that just helps you also put some lyrics into fruition.
Yeah, I pretty much drive around and crank it and just listen to it a bunch. We walk put it on headphones and I'm just cruising around and just try and keep that going around. Sometimes it'll start with a melody, like a vocal line, and I'll find words. Sometimes it starts with words that I already had, and I try and fit them in, and it'll shape it around. So now I've got a little home set up back here, my little studio set up here.
Oh, it's badass, man.
And I'll just I'll pull up that stuff and just sing along. And I've sent out a couple. That's the beauty now is I'll email out some really rough drafts and just get some feedback or just so those guys know I'm working too, so
that's eating brisket.
But so it's been cool. That's kind of the stage we're in now, whereas they're starting to lay down some real guitar tracks and the drums are down for about 8 songs. And now I'm just getting vocals and I'll probably after these shows go out there and really track with Zeus. We don't know if we're going to put out a full length or an EP or if we want to use all the songs at once. It's so different now.
Yeah.
It's not like we're on an album cycle world.
Right.
And also, we haven't done anything in forever.
12,
so
12,
we could kind of release it however we want. So it's kind of a nice situation to be in. So
it's funny because I'm sorry. A lot of artists, even that Clown for something came out recently in the past months, and said that a lot of bands probably just might do singles now.
Put up a bunch of almost want to like drop a few songs at a time, and then at the end it can all be one record, you know, like. And then if you want the whole thing, great, because honest people's attention spans are so shot these days.
What?
No,
It's ridiculous. So. And hey, and honestly, sometimes a whole album is a lot to digest. Sometimes as well. So I'd rather put out less that's more, you know, like quality stuff as opposed to trying to, because before when you sign a record deal, they're like, yeah, it's not only is it a minimum of tracks, it's a minimum of time. It's got to hit at least 48 minutes. It's got at least 10 tracks. So by the end, you're kind of just like, all right, here you go. Like, here's just tack that one on there at the end. You know? And you hate to, you hate to rush anything, but there is deadlines, there is stuff that has to happen. So it's nice to not have any of that stuff. We're not in that situation at all. We're just kind of doing whatever we want on our own schedule.
Yeah, which is a great place to be.
And I'm sure we'll partner up with someone to physically release it. But that can come when it's done. That's what's great about now.
So, one step at a time. So, one day at a time. Cliche.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way to do it, man. That's awesome. So when I said clown, something I got to ask, because out of curiosity, killed the cat. But I'm sure you've met Corey from Slipknot numerous times. You know him. Is he really that cool and badass in real life?
Yeah, those dudes are awesome, man. We got to do a tour with them in 2004. It was us, Lamb of God, and Slipknot did an arena tour on the Subliminal Verses record, and we had. And it was at a time when everyone was still partying. Like, there's a lot of dudes between Slipknot and Lamb of God have like kind of put the bottle down and like gone the straight and narrow. But not in 2004. Like, dude, it was madness. That tour was insane. And then right after that, a few years later, Shadows Fall went out with Stone Sour with Corey again. And did a full tour with them, and it was a Jägermeister tour, so that was
I missed those
rock and roll train wreck. Yeah, that was a rock and roll train wreck. It was a blast.
Rockstar Energy Festival, like those used to go down to the Great Woods, the Xfinity Center in Mansfield, Mass.
It's always Great Woods.
All fucking day, and
it's always great.
Man, I miss those days, bro.
Oh, totally. So those were blasts. We had a blast with those guys. Corey was always really supportive of us between Slipknot and Stone Sour taking us out. And awesome dude. Incredible singer and performer. Just super nice guy. So those dudes rule. We had this thing though. We had a remote control yellow Humvee that would bring us shots of Blacktooth Grins during the Slipknot tour. Because it was this huge stage and they had fire and moving things and all this stuff. And we didn't have a budget for any of that shit. So our big production was a remote control car that our guitar tech would drive out to us with shots. And, we do a shot for dime. And then, yes, indeed. And then, but the last night, Clown came out with his spiked bat and just annihilated the whiskey wagon. Just destroyed it. Perfect. And then signed all the pieces for us. I still have a piece of it somewhere.
Nice. That is so cool, man.
Yeah. So Clown destroyed our whiskey wagon.
Yeah.
So
so we love him.
That was a crazy tour, man.
Back when you could get a show sponsored by Jägermeister, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had good times with those guys, man.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I was hoping to get a story like that, one or two out of you. So I'm glad that I brought that up because I was like, I need a story from Brian about rocking out with those guys and shit.
Yeah, it's rest in peace, Whiskey Wagon. So that tour, the other crazy thing on that tour is, I don't know if you guys are fans of 80s Kiss. Like, we're talking Animalized, Lick It Up, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
It became this joke backstage where, we started just joking about all the like the Sharon era Van Halen and 80s Kiss. And how we would just piss everyone off, being like, "Yo, they didn't even hit their stride until the Sharon
just their prime,
or whatever." And just fucking around. And so all of a sudden, the joke became reality when Matt and John, Joey from Slipknot, and this dude Sully, who was the tour manager, performed as 80s Kiss to open the show. Where they did "Lick It Up," "Heaven's on Fire." Shit!
Heaven's on Fire is good, but "Lick It Up,"
dude, "Lick It Up" rules.
My father hates that song.
Like the later day makeup, where it was like Eric Carr with the Vinnie Vincent and all that. They did it like that. And just did 80s dude. Slipknot fans were so confused as to like they're walking in the arena not thinking that the first band's gonna be us and then Lamb of God or whatever, and all of a sudden like John as Paul Stanley is just like, "What's up, Boise, Idaho?" You know, just like, and he would say all this ridiculous shit, like, you know, it'd be empty, and he'd be like, "You couldn't fit another motherfucker with a shoehorn in here," like, and shouting out like section 480 where there's no one, you know, like,
that's so cool.
And which is something Paul Stanley would say too.
Oh, totally. And they, you know, since it was Slipknot's crew, they had Gene Simmons, you know, Art Sully, who was playing Gene Simmons, would get pulled up on this, you know, thing and fly, like, basically, and, you know, it was insane. Kids had no idea what was going on, and it was all because this joke went way too far.
Right. The joke can never go too far. That's
no. It literally ended up with them opening arenas around the country.
There you go. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's something you'll never forget. You can tell your kids. They'll tell
I think there's a bad video up on our Instagram of it. It's hilarious.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. So speaking of your kids and your wife, how do they feel like? Do they really know that our dad's a rock star?
You know, it's fun. They're getting a little older. My son Judah is a total metalhead, and it's totally happened on his own. He's into bands that I wasn't even into. Like, he's super into Accept. He's super into Annihilator.
He's like
big into Manowar. You know, like it's hilarious. So So he's super into all that shit. And they got to come to the reunion show, so they got to see us, you know, and we brought them on stage for a second. Paul, our bass player, also has a kid, so we brought the kids out for like a second, and they had a blast. They've come to a couple of shows. They went to Furnace Fest as well. They won't be at New England Metal Fest this year, unfortunately. We were trying to work it out, but they just couldn't miss too much school. So it was a bummer. They dig it. It's funny though. Like, you know, they still don't think I'm cool or anything. You know,
your dad's a rock star, guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny.
When they get older, they'll be like, they'll understand. I'm sure, you know, Judah now, he's into like different kinds of metal. He'll grow. He'll learn to, like, you know, my father put me into like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. Then I branched out to Metallica. And then I branched out from there. But you know, it's just how it really works. You learn from your parents.
Oh, totally.
You know, his father over here is not his music at all.
Zero. I mean, I'm like a music nerd and a music obsessed, and got nothing from dad.
Nothing.
And I wasn't from mom.
That's funny.
I don't trust people who aren't into music.
Exactly. It's crazy. My parents listened to a lot of music, but weren't very musical. And but you know, they were super into, like, you know, doo-wop and 50s oldies and a lot of R&B and stuff.
Right.
But we always had record players in the house and all that. I still collect vinyl like a junkie. But it's funny though, because Judah listens to a bunch of metal, but these days I'm listening to more like Grateful Dead and Velvet Underground and like just chilling out.
Got a poster in the back.
Hey, there you go. Yeah,
there it is.
And you know, but it's the heavy stuff still comes out every now and then.
I know, I have to, right?
You have to, man. Now, when you said you fit these doo-wop, have you heard of the band Twin Temple?
Oh yeah, totally.
Dude,
I've heard a few songs, man.
She can sing. That woman can sing.
Yeah, indeed, and they're doing it all for Satan too. So
they really are. I saw them live a couple times. They were actually in Boston last October at the Sinclair in Cambridge.
Nice.
And they put on a hell of a show. Excellent from start to finish.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then so I had to ask because I had to ask this question. My favorite band in the world is Tool. What's your thoughts on Tool?
Oh, I love Tool. I got into. I think the first thing I heard was the Opiate record, and it was super into it. And then Undertow blew me away. I will say I listened to everything after that and was always a fan, but that was the record that probably resonated the most with me. Okay. And I luckily got to see them a few times, like in the earlier days too, which was cool. Incredible band, man. Sick band. So it's amazing that a band that bizarre and challenging got as big as they did as well, which is cool.
Right.
So they blew some minds for sure.
Well, like I think even like recently I read an interview that Corey Taylor came out and said that, you know, he goes, I love Tool. He goes, but to me they're just boring because they're just so good at what they do. It's like you go there and it's just like, wow. It's like I can only see so much of those four just so it's perfect at what they do.
Right.
Well, excellence can be like that, like where everyone's already bored of watching like Steph Curry do what he does, or like if LeBron doesn't put up 50, you're like, oh, he had a terrible game. It's like he had 28, 10, and 4. Like, what are you talking about.
Right,
Like that's
right.
you know, but you get so used to excellence that you're like, oh yeah, it's just another really great Tool record that's better than everything else that came out. You know, like
well, it's funny. It's funny you said it because they came to Boston in 22 of February, and I went. Of course, I was there, and I'm like, I left the show going amazing as usual, but I fucking hate the set list. Like, stop playing your shit. I want to hear the old shit. But Manny goes, I'm not going to play the new shit, old shit no more. I'm like, it's not
and that's such a band guy thing. Like, you know, you just always want to play the new stuff, and as a fan, you're always like, yeah, it's great, play the old stuff. You know.
Have you ever met the guys from Tool?
No, not really. No, I met Danny, the drummer. He came to, the first time I met him, I think it was at we went and saw Mastodon and Converge in LA when we were recording Threads of Life, and he was at the show. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm convinced Maynard just loves pissing the audience off constantly.
Oh shit! Now I remember. I can't say I met Maynard, but I was at a coffee shop, hungover after the filming of the What Drives the Week video with a few of the girls who were extras in it. We all went out for breakfast the next morning, and they kind of knew Maynard. And they saw him walking by, and you know he's a shorter dude. He was with this he was with this like 7 foot just goddess with him, and it looks so funny. And they're just like, Maynard, and he just kind of gives the like wink of like, you know, like, I gotta go. Like, you know,
we don't want to talk to you.
Have fun.
Where was that? Was that
in LA? Just in some like diner. You know, he was wearing this like giant cowboy hat. He's like tiny little sunglasses. It was great. So I can't say I met him. He kind of gave us the
You had an encounter with him. I
got to meet him years ago when he did his like first initial wine tour. He did the wine testing and tour at the local like Whole Foods in your area, and he came to Cambridge, and I went to go see him, and I was just like, you know, amazed. Like I wanted to meet Maynard. He was like my idol, and I was like, I want to meet him. So like I got to meet him, but I didn't really speak to him too long. But still, just to see him. But he's you read about him. He's just really an awkward guy, but he's so smart. That's the you know.
Indeed.
But, well, you brought up going backwards. You brought up Steph Curry, LeBron. We know you're a huge Celtics fan as well.
Indeed, I was born and raised on the 80s Celtics, so like that's as good as it gets, you know. So I would go watching games on channel 38 and going to the old guard.
Nice. TV 38
WSBK.
It's still there. It's still here.
Exactly. So and going the old garden, there was nothing like it. It was amazing. And then as I got older, I had season tickets from probably it was like the early 2000s up until right when a couple of years after I moved here. So I had to go through the like some pretty thin eras of Celtics basketball, but I was such a Paul Pierce fan that even the like 20 win seasons, I was still there.
Right.
And then, everyone hated it, but dude, I love the Ricky Davis era of like Celtics basketball. That dude just dunking off of missed free throws, like and stuff, just like so awesome. But they were such a terrible team. And then as soon as when they brought in Garnett and Ray Allen and all that, it was just such a sick run. And then all of a sudden my tickets were worth a lot more too. So that was fun. So I still love the Celtics. Obviously don't get to see games as much. Had to finally sell my season tickets because I just was averaging 2 or 3 games a season. So but always love the Celts.
Yeah. And plus, obviously that Tatum's from the St. Louis area, so
yes, indeed,
big guy over there. He's very popular, big fan base.
Yes,
out there,
indeed,
so.
I've loved the Tatum and Brown era so far. Like, granted, it was some of them were frustrating when you don't lose in the finals or even the Eastern Conference. But when you think about how young this team is, and like how to get there that early, it's crazy, and to not flame out and never make it back. That's the other thing. Like, so the fact that they've consistently been fighting for deep playoff runs have been great. Obviously need more consistency. I just can't rely on some of the just too much ISO ball, and stuff like that. But we need a true point guard. Like I will miss Marcus Smart. Like that's broke my heart. But I can understand the basketball sense of it, but only if you find a legit point guard. Like really do that, and I'll be like, okay, it makes sense. If not, have this gritty ass dude who's just gonna like plow through people, and dive for loose balls and take charges. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a tough time to be a team like that because there's so many like crazy teams in the NBA right now. You know, you got to go through either the Bucks or go through Golden State, or it's just although it looks like Philly's falling apart, which is nice. I enjoy that.
Yeah, it's always good. Yeah. Well, it's funny because my brother-in-law is a huge like yourself, and he's got season tickets and all that, and he's so amped up for this year, and he's one of those guys like, okay, he's same thing. Like they're still young, so as long as they don't burn out, flame out, they still get back there every year and put up a fight. There's still a lot of hope for this team.
Yep, yeah, and it's entertaining basketball too. They're an entertaining team to watch. It can be frustrating, but they're entertaining.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Right.
Yeah. Yep. So, yep.
I'm glad you still keep up with the Boston sports. It's good to hear. It's refreshing.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll be masshole sportsman for life. It's funny, like, because I would do some of the NFL stuff, but I ended up at a B Dubs or whatever, just to like watch it on a big screen instead of having to like just do the like. Because the Patriots weren't getting any like national games last year, like
no, Mac Jones and that team right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, rebuilding.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I caught that last preseason game against Tennessee, and it was just ugly to watch.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope for this team if the O-line can get it together, but it could be a rough one. The AFC East just turned around and got like good.
With Rodgers now in New York.
Yeah, it's like it's not supposed to happen.
I know it's not in New York, not the Jets. No, they always owned us, but not the Jets.
Not the Jets. Yeah.
I was thinking about I want to talk about that live album you guys did, Madness in Manila.
Mm-hmm.
Was that cool being out in the Philippines? Like, how was that experience?
It was incredible, man. We were one of the first metal bands to come through there in years. Before that, we did a tour on the Threads of Life run. Our friend over there, Vernon Go, he was a promoter there who just wanted to like bring metal shows back.
Nice.
And he had us come through, and the first show, we had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
It was just a headlining show. There was thousands of kids there. He built this huge set for us that was like such a fire hazard, like that never would have flown in like the US anyway. Anyway, like, but there didn't give a fuck. Like, and it was awesome. So after that show, we're like, oh man, we got to come back to the Philippines. And we started telling other bands like, hey, this guy's legit. He's awesome. He's going to treat you well. The crowds are awesome. So like Darkest Hour went, and Killswitch went, and then he started doing this summer festival, and he wanted to kind of thank us for helping get Philippine metal back on the map, and had us headline. And it was in an old soccer stadium, and I think it's where the Thrilla in Manila was. Like, it's this big ass soccer stadium. And he built again this gigantic skull with like lasers that shot out of its eyes and these moving hands. Okay. And again, all made out of like paper mache and like, and they're literally launching rockets at it. We didn't know when any of the pyro was happening. Like, like it was off of cues, like from like the record, but so like, it was crazy. Wow. I don't know how we didn't explode. But the show was amazing. The crowd was sick. They have this beer there called Red Horse that's like drinks like a Budweiser, but is like 8% alcohol.
Nice.
So everyone's, and you bought your ticket, you got a small Domino's pizza and a giant 22X Red Horse. And so everyone's just hammered by the time I go on, and just having a blast. It was awesome, man.
So is there a DVD of that? Is it?
I think it's just a live album I saw.
DVD
live
album. Yeah.
I'll have to check the DVD out. I've never seen it before.
Yeah, and it came out sick. It was a lot of fun. Vernon's awesome, dude. He's been trying to get us back there to do a kind of another show there at some point, but it just hasn't worked out yet. But I would love. Philippines is amazing. It was also the first time we went there. We got to travel, and we went to like a smaller island called Boracay, and got to go to the beach and actually hang out because we had like days off. A lot of times, you see the city, the airport, and like maybe a hotel, and that's it. So we actually got to explore the Philippines and had an amazing time. The people there were so awesome to us and just had a blast. So
how was the food?
It was great, man. It was great. We didn't mess around with anything. Like they have those things where they have the duck eggs, where it's like just like a baby duck inside an egg, and they literally walk around with buckets full of just dirty water with those things in them. And we didn't mess with any of that. But overall, it was awesome.
Stick to the Domino's.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what's hilarious, man. So many times I'll be like in like Moscow. I'm like, what's open? They're like, KFC's open. I'm like, really?
Moscow? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like, and then you're like, well, that's the only thing open. I'm like, fucking the Colonel's, special recipe.
The Russian Colonel.
Colonel Ovechkin.
Dude, and it's crazy to see Dunkin' Donuts everywhere. I remember getting to Korea and there was a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner. I'm like, it's like I'm back in Alston. I was like, this is fucking nuts. I was like,
back in Boston, man. Like,
it was crazy.
You remember we had Mr. Donut too back in the day, and I
hear
Mr.
Donut.
I hear there's someone over in Asia somewhere. Someone picked up the franchise.
That's funny.
Donuts on a stick they used to have.
Oh, that's great.
I'm glad you brought it. So you being from obviously Boston, New England area, what's the one thing you miss the most about this area? Besides, you mentioned like being near the beach, your family, like a particular food, a place you used to go to all the time as a kid, a teenager growing up.
Lobster rolls in general, like Cape Cod, going down Cape Cod, there's a few spots that are like smaller little, just kind of like lobster roll shacks that are I'll hit every time we go back down there. I don't even know if it's still around, but the No Name restaurant was always incredible, but I think it's gone. It was a seafood place that was down by the harbor, so I don't even know if it's still there though. Dude, the last time I went to Boston, I was like, where did all these other buildings come from? Like, what is going on here? We stayed in the like down by the Children's Museum, kind of by the harbor. This crazy hotel. I'm like, where did all this stuff come from? There's all these restaurants. I was like, this used to just be like just abandoned buildings and fish.
Fish guts everywhere.
Or it's where Whitey dumped his body.
Exactly. Yeah, it was crazy.
So. The Winter Hill gang.
I lived right on Winter Hill for a while in Somerville when I was working at Tuscanini's Ice Cream in Cambridge there, and in Central Square. I used to work at Tuscanini's. And I was living at right on Winter Hill for a couple, at least 2 or 3 years. I did. I was the classic, like, did every, lived in Boston, lived in Alston, lived in Somerville, lived in, make the rounds.
Now, did you ever venture to the lovely North Shore and visit Lynn, Sin City?
I know Lynn very well. Buzz McGrath from Unearth is a big Lynn guy. So
I'm from
it's fun. My brother's North Shore these days too. He
is he?
Yeah, he lives up above Gloucester now. He's what town is it? No, I can't remember what time he moved. Georgetown. He's living in Georgetown.
Georgetown's
he's a basketball coach up there. It's hilarious. He's former D1. He used to play at UVM back in the day. He played soccer and basketball at UVM. So, So it's funny. When I come back to Massachusetts, so now like no one's in my hometown. Like no one still lives in Milford. No one's even in Boston proper. So I come home and it's kind of like, where'd everybody go?
Well, that's funny, Lynn well, because born and raised there, and moved to Peabody, but in other places. But Lynn, Lynn will always be close to my heart. Worked in Lynn for a long time, so. But Lynn gets a bad rap. There's some nice parts of Lynn. But it gets a big time bad rap. Especially if you want to get some fentanyl nowadays, that's where you go.
Exactly. See, that's what's funny about some parts of like Massachusetts. People don't think, you see it on the map. You're like, well, how bad could a place like Lowell be? You're like, well, let me show you the Cracktown, USA documentary about it that was on HBO. You're like, oh, okay.
That's
right. It looks like a nice little mill town. You're like, no, unfortunately. Well, even in Gloucester, once they, fishermen stopped making money off of fish and started just bringing in,
crazy.
Terrible.
It's still prevalent as it was. But,
right.
You get the terrible L's, Lynn, Lawrence, and Lowell. That's always
exactly.
Be careful of the 3 L's, guys. Don't go there.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Now, so you guys are coming to. I don't talk one last time. You guys are coming to New England Medical. So coming in September. What, the 15th, 16th?
15th, 16th. We'll be playing the 16th that Saturday.
You're playing the Saturday show, right?
Yeah. It's it's outdoor Palladium, so it fits like thousands of people. It's an awesome setup.
Nice.
They've done a few of those on the outside thing, and it's this lineup is just sick from top to bottom, man. It's crazy. So I cannot wait. Definitely, we're starting to get set list ideas together. It's a hometown show for us, so we're probably like try and cover the whole. A whole retrospective of Shadows Fall, which it's tough, like trying to fit songs from everything in like a 45-minute, 50-minute festival set, especially when your songs are all 6 minutes long, like us, like idiots.
I know it's true.
But we want to try and make it like a special set list. So we'll see what we come up with.
Yeah. So if we hopefully we'll see you over there, you'll say hi to us.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Indeed.
We'll come look for you. I'll send you a message. I'm going to come look for you. We're going to say hello.
Sounds good, man. Without a doubt.
Now, that'd be great. How's, since you're going to be, I know you're a big fan of Lamb of God, as am I. I'm trying to get Maddie more into Lamb of God. Those guys, man, I think they're probably the best live band on the planet right now. And
I just saw them about a week and a half ago. They came through St. Louis with the Acacia Strain, another Massachusetts band.
Right.
And they were just they sounded perfect. Like, yeah, they're just a killing machine. Right. Yeah, they were the band that we kind of came up with. Them and Killswitch were like we were kind of like the three bands that all were kind of coming up at the same time with the same, just vibe. Not musically, we all sounded different, but we're all like kind of similar dudes just trying to have a good time. And it's awesome to see how they've really just grown and taken over. And probably, like outside of legacy bands, like the Pantera reunion right now, or like Metallica, they're about as big of a metal band as you can get in the States. So it's pretty awesome to see what they've done. And they'll be sick at that show. Hatebreed is always one of the best live bands out there. I've been sharing stages with Jamie from Hatebreed since probably 92 or 3. He was in a band called Josta 14 before he was in Hatebreed when he was like 13 or 14 years old. And Overcast and them play together. Overcast played some of the first ever Hatebreed shows, and Shadows Fall played with Hatebreed since the beginning. So probably shared more stages with him than anyone else. So it's crazy.
You should have a friend for life right there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and so it'll be killer. It's a very, very high school reunion lineup.
Right. Go to the local dive bar, watering hole, and let's all get together.
Exactly. We'll all be at Irish Times across the street from the Palladium.
Oh man.
Although everyone has sober these days. Besides, not Shadows Fall. So
the
one exception.
It's all right. Hey, to each his own, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, some people it was the best. It was best for everybody.
That's right.
It was a better choice for humanity by some people deciding that they couldn't party anymore.
Yeah. I don't know if you're hip to this, Brian, but Fenway Park, they attached to it is the new Fenway Music Hall. You heard about that?
Yeah. I haven't been there yet, but the shows look amazing. I've seen videos of some shows from there. It looks amazing.
And I'll tell you from first-hand experience, I've been there one time. And when I was there last September, Lamb of God and Killswitch, and Baroness.
Yeah, Baroness.
They all three played, and of course, Lamb of God headline. But man, what a fucking venue! But plus you have those three great bands, especially Kill and Lammy.
Yeah, it looks sick though. It looks sick. There's a few good venues in Boston. Roadrunner looks amazing as well. I don't know if you've been to that spot yet.
I haven't been there yet,
I think it's in the Brighton area. I think that place looks amazing. The Fenway place looks amazing. House of Blues is always good. So it's cool that there's those like some newer, like modern kind of venues.
Yeah.
So.
They do a lot of theaters over now too. We had the Cabot in Beverly.
Cabot.
Theater,
Actually, just recently in Cabot in March. Jerry Cantrell came to the solo show.
Oh, nice.
Shows,
Jerry. But Jerry's just in the league of his own. So But going. So you mentioned the play Avalon, but House of Blues. I want to talk to you about. I'm glad you reminded me. So I think it was back. I'm getting kind of foggy in the timeline of the year. Was it 07 or 06 when you played with Korn and Breaking Benjamin over there?
What year was that? It was around then. It was like 2007ish. Because I remember Korn did a whole run of undersized sort of venues. We got to do we did like Sayreville, New Jersey with them in a smaller place and a few things. So that was cool. We were never really like a new metalish band, but we always loved playing in front of those audiences because those audiences just come to like just rage. It's always a good time. So. Give them heavy music and they'll go nuts. So
I think that was like the second time I saw you and you guys, and I was just like, wow. Like I brought my brother. He was into more like Killswitch Engage back then, and more like just Disturbed. But he loved Korn. That's why he really wanted to go. So I said, "But you got to listen to these guys, Jeff. Shadows Fall is fucking killer, man." And he loved you guys. Ever since then, he was like, "All right, now I'm into these guys." I'm like, "Thank you for bringing me." I'm like, "Yeah." So
nice.
That would remind me of that time.
Yeah, that wasn't the old Avalon, man. I miss the old Avalon Axis days. Those are the shit.
Yes, he would know that more.
I know.
Yeah.
Boston, the old Boston scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever get to the Channel back in the day?
Oh, dude, that was my first hardcore shows with the Channel. I was a 15-year-old kid at the Channel, just trying to survive.
Yeah.
My first big show was it was Leeway, Only a Witness, Breakdown, and I think Said and Done at the Channel, and I was just like, this is madness. And I luckily said like the first few years I was going to hardcore shows were the last few years of the Channel before it shut down. And man, that venue ruled. Although it was literally like just an empty square, like dark, building, windowless building. Right. But it was awesome, man. Anything goes there.
Yeah.
So
what about
and then there was, of course, the Rat was another classic one as well. Overcast played. Overcast played a legendary show at the Rat that is known as the Kitty Litter Show, because the night before we did a matinee show that on a Sunday. The night before they had a sewage pipe burst, so they just threw down fucking kitty litter to like sop it up.
That is so Massachusetts for you.
Didn't even really like like sweep it up or anything. Yeah. And so we go to load in the next day, and it smelled awful, but like the Rat always smelled awful.
Yeah, right.
So it didn't really throw up, but all of a sudden we're like, all the roadies are wearing like surgical masks, like all the like door guys and everything. We're like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, this is night 4 or something. And all of a sudden, so we start. The first band went on, and people weren't really moving around too much, so that we didn't notice anything. We go on next, and as soon as people start like moving around the crowd, this cloud of dust just rises up.
So bad.
Dude, everyone was you couldn't see anything. It was just like kitty litter, fecal dust. Shit in the air. It was so awful. Like
that's not good for your voice. I take it.
We're all convinced. Well, we're all convinced we'll all meet up at some like trial for some weird new like drug, because we all have this bizarre lung disease together. You know, this mutation. So the other day I was seeing like a bunch of bands were canceling shows for like air conditionings were too, messing their voices up, or like all this other shit. I'm like, dude, I played in a cloud of kitty litter dust that was sopping up sewage. Like, at a venue that was already so disgusting that there was a couch that had a tree growing out of it, so it was crazy. So,
but you won't see that stuff anymore. You just won't see that gritty side. I know.
Totally.
That's when music.
Kenmore, like now compared to then, it might as well be Disney World.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Now you guys ever played the Paradise?
Yeah, man. Paradise was awesome. I got to see a ton of great shows at Paradise too. So, So
Paradise
classic.
still kicking.
Yep. Paradise will always be there. It's weird. It's the most awkwardly shaped room to have concerts in.
Thank you.
There's like
I agree.
Big poles and just no good angle. Like, but it's classic. So
I think I've only saw two shows in. The only show that I remember being the best was I saw Seven Dust Acoustic there. Man, what a show!
Nice.
How are those guys? You ever tour with those guys or hang out?
We haven't really toured, but I've hung out with Morgan a bunch. The drummer, he's an awesome dude. He did a thing called Heavy Metal Convention. It was MetalCon. It was like a heavy metal convention in Oregon that this tattoo artist Chris 51 and Morgan put on, and he's an awesome dude, man.
Great drummer too,
and sick drummer and great band. Great band.
Yeah. I'm glad. That's cool. Now, so I'm curious. Maddie's definitely curious. We have to ask you,
it's the obvious question.
The hair, man. You've had the same hairstyle for years, and it just suits you so well. How do you keep it up? What's the upkeep? What products?
I don't have to do anything, man. It just grows. I just wash it. Like it's pretty out of hand these days, so it just keeps going.
Is it?
Wow, dude.
It's all the way to the ground these days. So
the ninth wonder of the world.
Yeah. So
I think even from Monkey from Korn's got that shit growing down too. Yeah, look at that shit. It's been about
over 30 years since the last real haircut, I guess.
I was gonna say, there's even like Mike Borden from Mike Puffy Borden. Is he still rocking the from?
As far as I know, I think he might have trimmed some stuff, but he's still got him. Last time I saw him, so
I mean, it's something you wouldn't get rid of, right?
At some point, I'll probably maybe cut it, but haven't had the desire yet, so we'll see.
No. Put it off to the highest possible.
It's definitely a safety hazard though these days.
I know.
Now, a couple more questions for you. How did what's your new favorite like go-to band out there that really just makes you want to rock out?
There's this band from England called High Vis, VIS. Dude, they're like they're like hardcore adjacent. Like they're connected to that scene, but they sound almost more like just like I don't know, like new wave, but with like a ton of like power. It's weird. It's like it's killer, man. Their first record blew me away. Their new one I really like as well, but the first one's amazing. They're touring the States for kind of the first time right now, and of course they're coming to St. Louis, and I'll be at New England Metal Fest.
Typical, right? Murphy's Law.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that's a killer band to check out because I haven't, there hasn't been a whole lot of newer bands that have kind of caught my attention lately, and that was one that just blew me away. So I think killer band. There's a band from St. Louis called The Gorge who's been pretty killer as well. Sort of proggy metal, like a little bit of a Mastodon-ish vibe, but very different. But like just that approach of like taking metal-ish sounds, but making them like just way weirder, you know.
Yeah, obviously, as you know, I mean, if I love Tool, I gotta love prog. So
yeah, exactly.
Definitely check them out. Then I mean,
yep.
There's a band out of I don't know if you ever heard of them. I'm kind of like they didn't put new material in a long time. There's a band, I think they're out of Ireland, called Carnival. You ever heard of them?
No, I don't think I've heard of them, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that was the closest thing to like listening to Tool before waiting for Fear Inoculum to come out. So if they're definitely worth checking out. They have the lead singer is really good. He got really good voice, kind of like he kind of sounds like Maynard sometimes, but we'll never check it out, man. But yeah, check them out. It's called Carnival, Karinvool, something like that. So you'll come.
Oh, I think I've seen that name and was kind of like, huh. So I'll have to check it out. Cool.
Yeah, they're not like I said. I haven't put music on a long time, but it's definitely something worth checking out. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is so New England Metal Fest. We're planning to be there. We'll see you there. Now, is there anything like, like you said, your parents, from being from Massachusetts out in Cape Cod, we talked about your kids, your what? Now, what do you do like on a normal basis when you're not recording and touring? Like, what is your go-to?
Yeah. I'm working. I'm working for Alvarez Guitars.
Well,
it's this company, St. Louis Music, where we own Alvarez Guitars, we own Dixon Drums, and a few other like band and orchestra instrument companies. So yeah, just still kind of working within music at least a little bit, but just working for some companies that make some really good stuff, and just
a great name,
yeah, it's been cool. So yeah, that's really the full-time gig, and then playing show. I got a band out here called Hell Night that's way more like I don't know, like we're really down-tuned punk rock stuff. That's like it's pretty weird, but it's nasty. The guitar sound is crazy. Like our guitar player is the most original guitar sound I've ever heard.
How far is he detuning? Like, what are we talking?
There's a lot. Like, we're in B at times, but he also does this octave pedal thing where it's makes it sound sludgier. Nice. And but it's not. It's like we're heavy, but the riffs are almost like if Joe Jackson was played on a down-tuned guitar by Black Flag.
Yeah,
so check it out. Check it out.
Yeah, his riffs are very like like some Deep Purple vibe, or like even like Climax blues band stuff. It's just, but we play them like where it sounds like a shark bite.
Yeah, so. The ultimate mashup. Yeah.
Yep. So
was there?
It's been fun.
Yeah. Would there out of curiosity, would there be any like one particular artist or band you'd like to like feature on, work with to make an album or make a song? I should say a single.
Oh man, I can't imagine. There's so many. It would probably be from out of the metal world to do something just different. Like I'd love to work with dream would be like working from someone like Trey from Fish or something like that. But
okay.
Or doing some like cool reggae dub stuff with some people, So, but who knows?
That's tough, right? Yeah, it's like you pick so many, and it's like how do you?
I'll be. But so hey Trey, if you're out there, just give me a call.
He will. Jay, call him. Now you mentioned reggae. Now I'm a huge Sublime fan. What's your thoughts on Sublime?
I dug Sublime when it first came out. It was cool to hear. Just someone mashing up some punk, some reggae, and some just different vibes. Incredible songwriter and musician.
Oh wow!
Definitely dug those dudes.
Oh, that's good. I mean, you don't just listen to metal. If you're a metalhead, like I'm a huge metalhead. Like I still
I grew up a metalhead. I grew up listening to tons of heavy music, but I've always listened to everything. My iPod is like schizophrenic as shit, like or my iTunes or whatever. I put on Spotify and just hit like shuffle on my liked songs, and it's just bizarre.
Yeah. Is there any hip hop or rap artists?
I love. I have a real wheelhouse of like 92 to 95 hip hop.
Like
Nas Illmatic. Yeah, like Nas Illmatic, Wu-Tang's first record, like Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, and Low End Theory and stuff. It was a golden era. All the hieroglyphic stuff, like I don't know if Souls of Mischief, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, all that stuff from that era, dude, love it all. I still listen to some newer stuff. I've been listening to there's this live funk band called El Michaels Affair. They like it's a rotating members. They just did an album with Black Thought from the Roots that's amazing.
Nice.
So and a few of my friends own an underground hip hop label, so he'll send me some stuff every now and then too, but I'll always like that'll be my wheelhouse for hip hop is that 94, 95, which was also coincided with like my probably sophomore year in college.
Yeah,
so just those beats. Those, yeah, exactly. Like just driving around BU, like my friend's Pathfinder, just banging like like Gangstar Hard to Earn or some shit.
With,
you know,
with your Timberlands on.
Yeah, exactly, totally. So
what you're saying is you're a huge New Kids on the Block fan.
Oh yeah, yes. Hey, East Coast.
I had to. I was like New England, Boston, Dorchester. You know,
I was more about Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch than the
New
Kids.
Yeah.
It's funny because I mean you hear the stories of how like when Mark Wahlberg was in that doing his shit and all the trouble they got into, and when he became this movie star, all that shit was okay. His record's finally clean. All the record's clean. You hear those stories because being around here, people talk about it. People that know, people that I knew this guy Steve, who he's been died a long time ago. Rest in peace, Steve. But he grew up with Mark and Donnie, and he said, "Oh, these guys were." He was probably be 57 now, 59. But he said, "Oh, he goes, they were fucking terrible." He goes, "They were running so much trouble."
It's great.
Like those stories I like to hear, like the old shit. But you hit a nail on the head when you mentioned the 92 to like 96, 95 rap era. That was when rap was rap for me, man.
Oh, it was the best. So
I don't find myself listening to rap anymore because it's just trash now in my mind. Like
most of the stuff you hear, that like a lot of the mainstream stuff just doesn't really connect with me. But there's definitely still some good stuff out there. You just got to dig, a little deeper. But back then, like the stuff that you were hearing everywhere was still such good quality. So
they were sampling. They would like make sampling an art form back then. They'd create and find like the obscure jazz records and mix that in. Yeah, it was
totally
for that.
Because you had people like Dr. Dre that was more so producing and making sampling. Then all of a sudden you thought, let's rap too. But the people like that pioneered that and. Even before his time, but I'm glad you brought that up because that was definitely the only rap I listen to really. If it's like old school, like even Tupac's, Biggie was still icon at the time. So but man, I figured it was a good time to wrap it up here. But I feel like we want to thank you again, Brian, and really appreciate this for joining the Scrap Metal podcast. And we'll see you in a couple weeks, hopefully.
Indeed, man. Thanks for having me, dude. New England Metal Fest can be awesome. New Shadows Fall music coming. And check us. Come hit up the Shadows Fall Instagram. Has all the stuff. I'm taking over because those guys are all slackers. So I'm posting some stuff. So
no, it's fine. Do it, man.
We'll keep it fresh.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks, my man.
Indeed, man. We'll see you then.
Thank you, bro.
Take care, guys.
Thanks. Rock on. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.